So yeah, I mean, let's dig right into it and start with a little bit of chat. If you want to kind of give an overview of what IXSwap is, what we're kind of discussing here. And then we also have Ashley and Abbas who I brought up who, do a lot of these Web3 spaces with me. And the gist of this is, we'll dig in a little bit. We'll kind of talk through some different areas, see what potential is here. There's some awesome due diligence people. And we'll, kind of go about it. So would you like to start with a bit of a introduction of, yourself, the team, and a little bit of background of this product?
Yes, sure. Thank you. My name is Michaela. I work with IXSwap. I'm on the community side of things. So I take care of the community and I do spaces also with this account pretty regularly. So what we are is we are basically an exchange for security tokens. And for those of you who don't know, security tokens are basically IPOs, but on the blockchain. So it's a little different than ICOs, and it's more like IPOs, but they're security tokens just issued on chain. And I want to bring up our co-founder and CEO Julian. I think he's on stage right now, but Julian is he's a six-time founder and he started up lots of businesses, including IXSwap and InvestaX. So he has a strong background in the financial industry and other industries. So let me just try to bring him up here so he can introduce himself to you.
Absolutely. And just a note to Julian, I do see you in the audience. You do need to be on a mobile device in order for it to work to come up on spaces. If it's not working for you on mobile, go ahead and just exit the app, reload the app, and you should be able to come back in and request at that point. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some pieces to this team. So, oh, there we go. And here we go. We have Julian. What's going on, Julian? Might take him a second to connect. Spaces is a emerging technology of its own. Yeah, and I really do like that you have the full page as well with, all the different team members. There we go. What's going on, Julian?
Hi guys, how are you? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, I was on the desktop and it wasn't connecting, Michaela. Hi everyone. Wolf, thanks for having us and thanks for everyone being here. Yeah, just a quick background. My name is Julian. I'm one of the co-founders of IXSwap. I've been involved in the security token space since the beginning. I co-founded another platform called InvestaX, which is one of the first security token platforms out of Singapore. We built IXSwap as kind of the Uniswap for security tokens and NFTs. We believe that the innovation around Uniswap with which is actually kind of crowdsourced market making and the ability for anyone who issued a cryptocurrency to start their first trading pools versus having to have millions of dollars to go and pay Binance and Coinbase to list was an amazing innovation, and that's why Uniswap, trading volume on DEXs before Uniswap was very, very, very small. Like it was, a couple $1 million. And then after Uniswap came out, it was in the billions, $40-50 billion. So IXSwap is on a mission to replicate that for the security token space and the NFT space. And what we think about NFTs is this incredible innovation of tokenizing kind of everything. And I think there's going to be a binary world where there's NFTs that are kind of digital art, digital collectibles, which are clearly not securities. And there's going to be a whole world of NFTs that are securities because they're profit sharing and revenue sharing of artists and all this exciting stuff. So we're purpose built to kind of help those markets grow, and super excited to be here today to talk about it and chat with the team about all these different amazing things going on in the space. So thanks again for having us.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely. Okay, so I think it would be helpful to start out with a little bit of an explanation because not everybody is super familiar with it of, what it means, what DeFi is in your eyes and what CeFi is and why they need to be bridged. And then I'm happy to bring up, I do see, if anybody does requests throughout this, if you have questions, thoughts, like that, we're happy to, bring people up for questions. You may just have to, once you get up, just wait until you're called on. But yeah, Julian.
Sure. So the big, the higher level explanation I like to give is, TradFi, CeFi, traditional finance, right? All the things we knew before blockchain, banking, money, taking loans, etc., all around fiat currency. DeFi, in essence, and then this is just high level. Try to tackle this into a valuable information. DeFi essentially started in about 2 or 3 years ago in decentralized finance. Really, it was bringing the banking services of lending, borrowing, collateralization, which we call staking in crypto, bringing those banking services over to crypto. So what did that actually do? It basically made crypto pre-2018, which was basically, wasn't even currency, right? It's never really been used as currency previously, but more of just a speculative asset. And with these DeFi services, it made cryptocurrency much more useful. You could lend on it, you could borrow it, you could extract more value out of your crypto. What that meant, the result was this huge explosion of value. So that's DeFi, right? So TradFi and DeFi is bringing traditional financial assets, which in essence would be shares of companies, shares of real estate, shares of venture capital, tokenizing them, and then marrying them with cryptocurrency, lending, borrowing, staking, and all of those kinds of things. So when we talk about IXSwap, we say that it's hybrid infrastructure that connects the two. I was just actually at FTX Bahamas conference, which was amazing, and SBF, the founder of FTX, started the conference basically and said, this is the first crypto conference that is actively trying to bridge TradFi and DeFi, and they're not, and they don't have to be, parallel universes. So the more what we're working on and what Michaela kind of started introducing is there's a whole new. So we started with Bitcoin, we then evolved to altcoins and other cryptos. We then now, obviously with the NFT boom, we're tokenizing all kinds of things. And in parallel, along comes security tokens, which are also known as tokenized securities, and they're also known as digital asset securities. But STO is the word that we should use today. And that's just simply using the technology to wrap around real assets, making them a lot more useful and making them connect to all the digital currencies and the stable coins and the NFT world. So it's a really exciting time where, there's a lot of the Web3 value propositions that we've seen coming out now in terms of distributed value around communities. And we're working hard to marry those concepts back to traditional assets, because the traditional asset world is huge, right? The private markets, all the real estate, private equity, it's $8-9 trillion marketplace now. It's going to double or triple in the next 5 years. So says McKinsey, especially after the money printing episode the last couple of years. So you're talking about this insane amount of assets that are now starting to be tokenized and then brought across to be married with all the amazing stuff that's going on in crypto and DeFi.
Perfect. Also, Julian, I shot you a co-host invite if you want to go ahead and grab that. Ashley and Ambas, I'm going to ask one more question here, and then I'd love to kind of get some of your thoughts, maybe digging in a little bit into this as well. And again, for everyone to check this out, this is just ixswap.io, and that's where you can go ahead and check it out. Okay, so one of my other questions is a little bit on, I'm always curious, team's a huge thing to me. So who's building this? What's the team look like? What's their background? What made them the right people to build out this technology? Oh. Did you hear me, Julian?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me? My microphone's off.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what is needed with the team? We have about 25 full-time people. We have 15 in tech and call it 10 in business. What you need in this is investment professionals, because underlining an STO is a security. The token makes it a lot better, but what investors are getting is the security. So you need people that understand, real estate, private equity, and etc. So you need a team of investment experts, and we've got investors and private equity guys and ex-family office guys and private bankers. You need a lot of legal teams. We've got a fantastic legal team. You're now in a new world of trying to, navigate the legalities around all these different jurisdictions and tokens and securities. And then you also obviously need a strong tech team that understands, blockchains, smart contracts, etc. So it's really it's quite complex to build this out. This is the first one that happened. To give a quick explanation of the architecture. So in Uniswap, you have smart contracts, 2 tokens that are crypto, creating a pool, and it's all in brackets done in purely decentralized way with in brackets no human beings. The difference with doing the similar model like IXSwap for security tokens is smart contracts alone aren't legally allowed to hold securities. It has to be a licensed security token custodian that is integrated with the technology, and it have to have a licensed security token broker that's integrated with the technology. So IXSwap looks and feels like Uniswap, for security tokens, but there's a big difference that you do need these TradFi businesses that have the tech plugged in, and that's where you need the lawyers and the investment people. So yeah, teams distributed around the world. We started building this in January last year. It was built completely decentralized. We now are setting up our first office in the Bahamas, and we're actually getting IXSwap its own licenses to future-proof it and also to make it much more scalable. But it is purpose-built to work with any security token exchange, security token broker, or custodian, because we want to be the AMM, the market maker for any security token platform or issue. And in the same way that Uniswap works, the goal is that anyone who issues a security token, whether you are raising money for your startup, whether you're a real estate guy, whether you're big, whether you're small, can bring their STO to the IXSwap platform and start the first trading pools. And this is going to be kind of the galactic value proposition. Because when you think about the public markets today, and the example I like to give is startups in America. So there's millions of startups in America. I think there's 500,000 companies started every year. But there's only ever a very small percentage that go list on NASDAQ. Why? And that's tradability and digitization, because they're the biggest, they're the best, they've got the most money, they tick all the boxes. So what about the 99.9% of other startups? And the answer is, what about them? Nothing, right? In the new world of tokenization, all those 99.9% of startups are going to be tokenized. Now, in the same challenge, though, that when they go to big centralized security token exchanges, those big exchanges are only going to want to trade the biggest and the best, because they're going to have market makers that only want to trade the biggest and the best. So what happens to everybody else? And what happens to everybody else now is that we want to welcome them at IXSwap so they can start their first trading pool. So it's really game-changing kind of concept that to get your head around. But we believe and we hope that the value proposition is that whether you're raising $100,000 for your startup and you want a security token and you want to be able to trade that we'd be able to do that in a cost-effective manner at IXSwap. And you don't need market makers, you don't need exchange fees and listings, and you don't need to be big and you don't need to be famous. You can start those first trading pools, and that's where we think it's a really exciting space to focus on.
Really appreciate the insight there, and also the depth that you're going into in your explanation. Okay, so I see a hand up from Travis, and we're going to go ahead and go to you. And also, I'll just ask to everyone that's coming up, if you do put a hand up, we are keeping this to questions or quick comments, and also please try to keep it to about 30 seconds to 45 seconds if you are going to ask a question. So, Travis.
Thank you. Julian, can you sell me like I'm a founder of a startup and help me understand what it's like to go through SEC filings using your security exchange system? Help me understand the complexity that I'm going to face. What kind of regs am I going to have to file? This is all new, and unfortunately, as the leader, you kind of have to teach me.
Yeah, no problem. Well, so anyone who's issuing a security token is issuing a security. So where you are, in this instance, America, what you're issuing, whether it's an LLC, whether you've set up a fund structure, that'll all be up to you. So what we do is we facilitate the listing and trading of a particular security token. That security token has to be set up by whoever's issuing it. So as an example, you might set up a company in America, and pending what you want to do, you might plug into the crowdfunding rules in America now, which I think there's lots of different rules. I think one of them allows you to take up to 2,000 investors, and you might issue that security token to whatever 500 investors under your decision. Like, you may or may not want Americans, you may want foreigners, you may have a different vehicle for foreigners. And then once you've done all of that, and you had a security token that existed and it had whatever, $1 million into it, then you could come to us and we could list it and trade it and create the first trading pools. So it's totally up to the issuer or the fund manager or the founder what structure they choose, and you can tokenize any vehicle. So it's more about what's going to work for you, that you need to make those decisions on what's going to work for your company before you think about even the token part. Because at the end of the day, there's still a security there. There's still a company set up. There is movements, without confusing everyone, there is movements, outside there on the internet for people creating, security tokens that are, paperless based and born on Ethereum, and they're not in a particular jurisdiction. But that's probably a different discussion today. If you're just talking about setting up a company, raising money, then you decide what you need to do that works for you best. Then you look at tokenizing it, and then you can come to us. But we could happily try to share more thoughts on that offline.
What about this specifically the SEC? Do you know how these are classified, and am I going to face any kind of blowback from them?
So friends of ours who are working on this space in the US are definitely frustrated with the lack of clarity. What we do, what we have out of Singapore, we have a regulator, and it's the same in Switzerland and places like Germany and other jurisdictions around the world, where they've taken a position that securities laws don't reference paper. So a security token is perfectly legal as long as you issue it and hold it and trade it under the rules of normal securities, which means having broker-dealer partners, having licensed exchanges, having custodians, etc. So over here, we called up the regulator years ago and said, we want to do security tokens. What do we need to do? Is there new laws? Do we need licenses? And they said, no, if it's a security, follow the licenses you have, and hung up the phone. So that's how it works over here. America, I'm not an American expert. So I could actually put you in touch with a friend of mine who is a lawyer who focuses on security tokens in America, offline, and connect you guys, and you guys could have a chat about the latest over there.
Awesome. Any follow-up on that, Travis?
Sorry, no, I'm in a workshop right now. That sounds great, Julian. Thank you. If you have a link to that, if you could just DM me or something, I could also reach out after this talk.
Yeah. Easier probably just to send me. Send me a DM, and we'll sort it out.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just so people can see, I'm pinning a couple stuff up into the nest. And so throwing up, just so everyone can see, the website's put together really nicely. So I do recommend everyone goes ahead and checks that out. We've been talking a little bit about STOs as well, and just so people can see the different types of STOs, there's equity tokens, asset-backed tokens, and debit security tokens. And those are now pinned as well up into the top of the space. You can check out what those are. And if anybody, again, if you want more clarification to something, feel free to just go ahead and request. But I do see a hand up now from Deer Point Macro. So I would love to come to you for a question.
Yeah, hi, Julian. Actually, I know Michaela personally. So my background's actually in investment banking. So I'm kind of more on the TradFi side. But there was a paper that was released that actually discussed STOs, and that, in times of market uncertainty, or when market uncertainty increases, the discount rate of these decreases. This was actually put of the STO decreases. This was put out by two people, Amsden and Schweitzer. They also found that between all of the traditional and non-traditional ways of actually, let's say, raising funds, STOs were one of the most expensive, and that actually in times of market uncertainty or moral hazards, that the fair value of that firm on the STO actually decreases by about 30% relative to other traditional and non-traditional ways of actually going about firm valuations. So I was just kind of wondering how you square all that. Because again, working in the TradFi or the traditional finance space, and then looking at this, I have a hard time seeing the utility over what we do on the traditional investment banking side.
Yeah, look, there's a lot to unpack. 1.0 security tokens are people thinking tokenize a share of a fund. Why? It's digital, it's better, you might get some liquidity, it's tradable, and all that's true. The industry is being built out. 2 or 3 years ago, there was no licensed platforms in the world that had the tech and the licenses, and now there's 25 around the world, and growing. So it's certainly a movement that's taken a bit of time because you need licenses, and everyone was knocking on the doors of the regulators saying, hey, we want to do these security tokens, and most of them were like, okay, let's either go for it or I don't understand, let's sit down and talk about it for a couple of years. But yeah, look, so my take on it is that actually there's a lot of different points in there, but I think that ultimately our mission is to bring tokenization to the private markets. The public markets work fine. right? Buying public stocks, you don't never really own them. It takes you 3 or 4 days to get your money when you sell them, but it's not that bad. But in the private markets, you invest in a startup or real estate or venture capital, and often you're stuck in it for 10 to 15 years, or you never get out of it and the whole thing doesn't work. So we think that the first step right now is what we're seeing, which is people tokenizing securities. There's still a piece of paper there, there's a fund there, there's a company there. There's already now the growth of security tokens, which is paperless based offerings, which try to avoid, and again, the next generation of shares and how you can hold that. And that's evolving all around the world in different shapes and forms. That's what all the DAOs are about. And that's exciting as well. But the more important point I'm trying to get to is, I think that what security tokens are going to do, and there's actually a great paper that was written last week by Copper, which is one of the biggest custodians in the world. They said, DeFi, especially with the Luna crash, crashed because it's all connected to different types of cryptocurrencies. If there were actually asset-backed tokens, security tokens, this would be a new world of DeFi and a much more scalable and sustainable way, because it can't go to zero. A real estate asset tokenized can't go to zero effectively, like Luna literally went to zero. So that's a new train of thought, something we've been thinking a lot about. If you could take a share of a VC fund or a startup, take it to a platform, loan against it, collateralized, take a loan out on that asset, that's definitely a 0 to 1 value proposition than having that share of that VC fund that sits in your drawer all day. So, there's some thoughts on it. I'm not sure if I answered your question exactly, because there was a lot going on there, but happy to explore that in another conversation, sort of offline or somewhere else to talk more about it. I think it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, Julian, thank you. Yeah, I'll send you a DM offline from the paper from Enston and Schweitzer, but thank you for taking the time to answer the question.
That'd be great. I'd love to see that, and maybe I can send you the Copper paper that I was talking about as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, Abbas, I'd love to throw you into the conversation if you have any thoughts, anything you want to poke at, or any comments you want to make.
Well, first, hi again, Gav and Julian. Well, it's really interesting. It's always, like, especially because this is kind of like a new type of things is happening in the DeFi space. And but I just have a questions. I'm not like, like let's say that Travis took actually the question and the thing that I wanted to ask in the beginning on how to sell this out. My question is more specific on how do you offer or do you actually facilitate the process of creating the security, the offering, or actually you just have the platform to put it public?
Yeah, good question. We began with just having the platform where the security token brokers and issuers have the products, and then help clients do what you said. Because IXSwap initially was launched just purely as a DeFi, as a tech platform. We immediately saw the request you gave us just then comes in every day. So we decided that it would make a lot more sense if we could also do exactly what you said. So it's not confirmed yet, and you should never talk too much about license applications, especially because when they're not confirmed, they're not confirmed. But we're very bullish on getting our own licenses at IXSwap that would facilitate to do that. But that being said, the partners of IXSwap do what you want to do. So if anyone does turn up and says, can we do it exactly? Today we say no, in the future we say yes, but we do have the other partners that do it. As I said before, there's about 25 groups around the world now that are involved in security tokens, whether it's issuance, custody, or trading, or exchange. There's a couple of platforms in Singapore, InvestX is one of them. OSL in Hong Kong, Archax in London, Black Manta Germany, Atlas One, Securitize, Tokeny, Tokensoft. I mean, I can give you a link after this if you DM me, and I'll send you a link which has all of these companies listed, and you can go and explore that if you're actually looking for help there.
Yeah, just one follow-up question, or to clarify on the evaluation part of the security. So it's not gonna be. So do you have some kind of specific requirements on how much the pool is going to be big, how much is like the kind of investment that been involved in the security token that will be released on the IX swap?
Yeah, great question. So one of the value propositions we want to bring to market is the answer to your question is no. We do not have any size requirements. I think the smallest pool that we want to operate is, I think, $5,000, which is tiny for securities. But that's our value proposition. It's just like Uniswap said to all of the altcoins, if you're not big enough to get onto Coinbase and Binance, we are a friendly home to you. And then thousands of tokens went there. So IXSwap is saying the same thing to the marketplace. As long as the issuer, the founder, the fund manager, whoever is behind the security token is legitimate, as in passes KYCs and AML, which is just normal things that we need to do to protect the users of the platform, then you can put up anything. So the first two pools we listed just recently, and these are the first two STO pools in the history of the world, which is very exciting. The first one is a tokenized Ferrari. The other one's a tokenized Sapphire. They're pretty alternate investments, not for everybody. And the first pools were $50,000 to $100,000. So half of that is the STO, and the other half is crypto stable coin to be the pair for the security token. So there's no size requirements. It can't be $1, but I think anything over $5,000 is fine.
Sweet. Amos, any other questions or thoughts there?
I was thinking, because we are in term of more of the big kind of NFTs projects moving into toward more being registered within the country that they are in. Is there any future plan in going into kind of integrate the NFT tokens within the system? I'm just in anticipation, or in a question for the future, if you have any thoughts about it.
Yeah, so NFTs are awesome. They help project a lot of the DNA we're about, which is that everything's going to get tokenized. What we see now is, that first massive push of, for argument's sake, call it JPEG NFTs. So that was the beginning, right? Now, one of the challenges already is that the blue chip NFTs, which is sucking up all the liquidity, are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and something that's out of reach of many people who want to be in the NFT space. So we are working on the first fractionalized NFTs. Now, the issue in the market so far has been anyone who's tried to fractionalize NFTs is a raging debate whether that's a security token. The SEC in America is arguing that pretty much every NFT is a security token. They're actually about to start arguing that every crypto and DeFi token is a security token, just based off the premise that people are buying for expected profit. I'm neutral on that statement. I mean, that's what they're saying. We're purpose built to be able to facilitate any of the NFTs that aren't securities and any NFTs that are. So we've actually already completed the smart contract audit on our first NFTs that we want to list as fractionalized NFTs and pools, and that's coming down the pipeline and something that we're very excited about. So, what you see now, again, around the world is, I call it NFT 2.0. You have artists and musicians and companies saying, well, I want to share my profits with you. I want to share revenue. I want to share royalties. That's a security token. Because you're giving someone, guaranteed or not even guaranteed, but you're promising some kind of return. So that actually won't be tradable on OpenSea and other platforms. They actually have already, pulled down projects that even smell and touch a little bit of that kind of concept. But neither here nor there. We're super bullish on that. We think it's going to be fantastic, and that they'll be available on IXSwap in a legal and compliant way where, there's no issues for the issuers and there's no issues for the investors. But yeah, very excited by that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, Ashley, I'd love to kind of bring you into the topic, give you a chance to weigh in here with any questions or thoughts you have.
I was actually kind of doing a little digging around on their website, and I really like what you're doing. I think it really legitimizes the space even more. Kind of builds like, I don't know, it feels so like I don't feel like there's a lot of places. In fact, I think y'all are the first to do this, to facilitate. I'm so sorry. Basically, I'm just absorbing the knowledge here, and I don't know too much about STOs personally. But I know that I've been looking for places that have liquidity pools. So I think this is a really unique platform.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We'd love everyone to join and sign up and start playing around on it. And, obviously adding some liquidity there. The first pools are pretty small, but again, these are the first ones ever. So the analogy I'm trying to give everyone is this was Uniswap day one when no one had ever heard about Uniswap. But yeah, we appreciate those comments and obviously the support from the crew. Thank you.
Well, let's take a second, Julian, and just explain to people, for people that are in the audience that want to get involved with this, and we've been getting some great comments, questions, DMs, what would be the simplest way for them to go ahead and get involved with IXSwap?
Yeah, the simplest way is just to go to the platform, ixswap.io. I know it's listed in all the materials, promotions for this Twitter space. So yeah, you can just go over there and log in. We work very hard on education. The guys in the marketing team are drafting up, blogs as frequently as we can. We actually had an economics team of blockchain and finance guys from Tel Aviv Blockchain University who have worked on the 300-400 page economics paper on our research and understanding of how pools work, especially for security tokens, and again, never been done before. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we try to be as transparent as possible and put as much information out there to educate the community. So yeah, if you join up, and obviously we've got Telegram and Twitter and all those handles are on the homepage as well.
Perfect. So yeah, for anybody that wants to take a look, and I recommend that you go ahead and do this. I already mentioned the website, which is really helpful. You can just find it inside of Julian's bio. So if you just click on to Julian's profile picture, that'll take you into there. Or you can go into the main account, which is actually coming up right now. We'll have there's a code in a second, and that is just ixswap.io, and that's the easiest way. You can get set up right from there. I think it was mentioned as well that there's some stuff already trading on there. Was there a luxury car that's trading on there?
Yes, there's a tokenized Ferrari and a tokenized Sapphire. And yeah, look, and just as a snapshot, now that there's infrastructure, and this is one key piece, this sort of market making, there's now much bigger alternative as well as kind of traditional assets coming down the security token pipeline. So stay tuned for a lot more interesting assets and bigger assets come to the platform as well.
How does that work with tokenizing a Ferrari and allowing that to appreciate, or people to trade it? Does that have to be in a certain spot? What's that whole system
Yeah,
like?
exactly. So most collective investments have when there's more than one investor, have a company, a special purpose vehicle, a fund, a company set up to hold the asset and then allow for multiple investors. So the Ferrari obviously is a car. You don't own directly own the wheel or anything like that. You own a share in a company that owns the car, that the shares in the company tokenized, and that's what's available. And you can go on to IXSwap and buy one of them today as long as you pass KYC AML. So on the KYC AML point, every offering has its own rules. There's not 50 million different rules, but what I meant by that is some of the first offerings are for accredited investors only. We're working now on the next wave of offerings, and some of them will have retail access as well. So it'll depend on each offer where the issue is being made. Is it an American company? Is it a Singapore company? Does the founder, the owner, founder, fund manager, want which types of investors, and then what's the minimum investment they're willing to take? So all of that comes out, asset by asset. But ultimately, we're trying to build a platform that has a great UX UI, and people can eventually over time and put in all their preferences and see all the deals that make sense to them.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, that definitely caught my eye. All right, we got a couple more questions here. Big Bull, what's going on?
Hi. Yeah, I got a couple of questions. The first one is leading what you just talked about in terms of like this Ferrari. You said it's, as an example, you keep it in a company. Um, how do you handle the sort of physical aspect of this? Because if you're tokenizing a physical product, whether it's Ferrari, a piece of art, a diamond, whatever, um, who's responsible for the maintenance and storage of it? So that's the first question. And the second question was if you're fractionalizing NFTs, you're talking about fractionalizing the NFT, right? Not fractionalizing the ownership of the collectible, right? The whole collection, or both. Because if you're looking at fractionalizing NFTs, you know, what's different to what's been done before with things like NFT 20 or NFTX?
Yes, good questions. So there's so the fractionalizing NFT is quite a lot of work that we had to put into there. So we'll start with that one first. So the challenge is that you need the point of holding. One of the main points of holding an NFT is that you get the benefits of holding that NFT, right? Metaverse land drops for the Bored Ape guys, etc. So if you need a system that allows for, let's just say, the holder of a Bored Ape to fractionalize X% and create some liquidity for himself. But then, if you knew that there was an airdrop coming tomorrow, you need to be able to, take full ownership back of your NFT to be able to enjoy the benefits of that so-called airdrop. So we've had to put a lot of time into thinking in our current thinking and plan, and this is an evolving tech and evolving space, and we're a startup, so if we can find better ways to do things, we'll change it. The basic parameters of it today is that if the owner is, I'll keep it simple, if the owner is willing to pay a slight premium to the current floor price, then he can automatically kind of buy it back. Because our thinking was also who is going to list their NFT for sale in a fractional and create some liquidity if they lose control of it. And in my mind, the answer was nobody. So we've done a lot of work on that stuff, and that's coming. We're trying to bring that out in the next 45 to 60 days with no promise on that timeline. But yeah, so that's how we're sort of thinking about the fractionalized NFTs. And then there'll be other people that actually put the NFT, as I sort of mentioned before, into a company and then tokenize shares of that company. That's probably someone that may or may not care or doesn't need to worry about airdrops or anything. But that's something that might be more relevant for maybe an art piece that's not getting any airdrops, right? Maybe it's not something like a Bored Ape as a collection. It's a one of a kind, and that's something that's very interesting as well. It might just go into a company, tokenize it, and still have a metric where the majority owner can buy back at some point in time, so they're not held hostage by one tiny small investor that might only own a very, very tiny percent of it. So hopefully that kind of helped, and we could talk more about that offline. What was the first part of the question again? Sorry.
Oh, it was unrelated. It was more back to when you're talking about this Ferrari
Oh
or
yes.
the diamond, or
Oh yeah. So how does it
and
work?
how do you
Yes.
handle the
Exactly.
physical aspect and security
Sure.
of that? Are you taking responsibility? Is it insured, or is it like it's we just put it on our platform, but you're if something happens to it, it's not our problem. How's that work?
Sure. So in this instance, there's a company that bought this Ferrari and put it in a company structure. So just and that's just one example. So let's just say it was a piece of real estate, or let's just say it was a share of a venture capital fund. So nothing really changes in relation to your question in terms of forgetting IXSwap and tokens. If I own a share of a company that owns a Ferrari, then I'm betting on the manager to do the right thing. I've gone and due diligenced him in my own capacity, and hopefully the company, the value goes up with the car, and in 2 years' time he sells it. Or if it was a real estate project, maybe there was a monthly dividend, and I'm getting that monthly dividend. So that all remains the same. What we're doing is bringing that share now as a token to our platform, and we've created the system that allows for, in this instance, the company that set up the tokenized Ferrari to start the first trading pool, which is something that some of their investors want. They want to be able to buy and sell in and out. So back to the architecture of the platform, when you think about Uniswap and you start a pool or join a pool on Uniswap, there's basically two cryptocurrencies, and in essence, smart contracts facilitate the trading, the pools, the distribution of market making fees, etc. Now, the difference with IXSwap is because one of the tokens is a security token, smart contracts alone aren't legally allowed to facilitate the custody and trade like they can on Uniswap for crypto. So IXSwap today, in relation to the two deals on the platform, the first custody partner is First Digital, which is a security token custodian who's based in Hong Kong. And the first security token broker dealer is InvestorX, which is a licensed security token platform out of Singapore. So to facilitate the system where you can buy and sell, where you can create pools, the difference on IXSwap versus Uniswap is you do need these TradFi partners who are also integrated with the tech. So and that's very good for investors. You can't, so that's how it works. Hopefully that answers the question. People have tried to do something like IXSwap before, and they've all tried to do it without licenses, and none of them worked out. Or they've created synthetic type assets, which is not the asset itself, and it hasn't really worked out. So we're actually on our platform at IXSwap. If you buy a security token or trade a security token and put it in the pool, you're the real owner of that share. There's no derivative, there's no synthetic. Like, you own, in this instance, one security token, which is one share of that Ferrari. It's trading and doing its business on IXSwap, but you can go and get that security token back. You can redeem it and put it back into your wallet, and you are the real owner.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I was just thinking, if people get their company and they're, you said that, one of the reasons it's hard to raise capital to get listed on NYSE or NASDAQ, etc. The bar is high. If someone raises capital in their company, how much percentage of their total equity do they need to actually list out? Is there a minimum or maximum? I mean, can they be risked that people will basically hostile take over their firm?
Yeah, we don't have any rules. So if you wanted to tokenize 100% of your company and put it on IXSwap, that's up to you. If you want to put 1% on, it's up to you. So it's a great question. Yeah, we haven't put a huge amount of thought. We don't have any limits around that. Maybe we have to put them in over time if we find out that what you just said happens to somebody. But I think,
well, because it happened in a project that I was involved in, which was an NFT.
Okay.
It was basically using NFTs
Yep.
As fractional ownership,
Yep.
and a consortium came in and bought 51%.
Right. Yeah. Well, this would be in the documents of this. So okay, totally what you're saying. So if you were going to do this for your company, you'd obviously be thinking about that. Now, yeah, it would be up to the corporate documentation of the company on who's in charge of the business, right? So it probably makes the most sense, if you're going to do this for your company, that you start with a minority, 5, 10, 20% of your company, putting it onto the platform where you're still in charge of that. But then again, you can also operate like Facebook and, have a founder who owns way less than 51% of the company, but controls 100% of everything, even though it's a publicly traded company. So again, it comes back into how it was structured at the beginning. And in your instance, probably that wasn't thought about in this NFT project, or maybe it was, but no one ever thought that someone would come and buy 51% and take it over.
Awesome. Big Bull, any other questions there? Got the dog going in the back?
Yeah, sorry. I've got
right.
two puppies. They're badly behaved.
No worries. Okay, Ashley, I think you've had your hand up for a bit.
Yeah, sorry. I was meant to ask this earlier, but I was gonna ask you about how the insurance worked on that. on the IX token swap, because I was reading a little bit about it and I was just really curious on how that works.
Yeah, so we have a small burn mechanism to the IXS tokens themselves, and we have a vault for insurance. That's very general right now. So we're just building up a insurance vault in case something goes wrong. We don't believe that, and I'm touching wood on this one, but the nature of security tokens is very different from crypto, right? The concept of DeFi protocol meltdowns and MEV attacks and flash loans, it just doesn't work the same way in security tokens. And we've built in at the moment, we're starting off with a functionality that any move more than 5% in the value of the security token will mean that the trades won't go through. So our insurance is more. So that's how we're looking at insurance right now. If we need to do a lot more later on, we will. But we strategy was to build sort of a platform that, again, you can't come in and steal all these security tokens and run away with them in a flash crash, because when the trade happens on IX Swap, it has to be approved by the custodian. And we try to build in as many mechanisms to prevent the bad actors. I'm sure a lot of people will try, and I'm not saying it's 100% foolproof today, but that's our take on insurance.
Sweet. Any follow-up thoughts on that, Ashley?
No, thank you. I just was really curious, so I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to see if there's any other posts. Also, I might pin a couple more things up top here just for people to look through while you're in here. There's some good content coming out of the IX Swap account as well. If you're interested in crypto and other things like that, they do community AMAs and a bunch of other stuff. They hop on spaces, obviously. They're supporting this space. So go ahead and check out their page as well. That account is up here, I believe, as a co-host. So you can check it out. I'm pinning up a little bit of stuff about Julian if you want to see who Julian is. See his pretty face. He's up there. Pinned up top. It's a real person. We bring real people, dox people on these spaces. Also, I've had a couple projects slide in. Like, if you're not gonna dox who you are, please don't ask to speak on the space. Just general rule. But let's see, Julian, anything you want to say there? I see another hand up as well.
No, we'd love the support. Appreciate all these great questions. Really intelligent. Obviously, a group of, I'm not going to say real investors, but intelligent investors here asking kind of the right questions. And we certainly don't have all the answers. This was a crazy world first project, but we'd love everyone's support, and hopefully we can help some of the projects in here at some point in time as well.
Perfect. Okay, let's go to Alex. See your hand up.
Hey, how's it going? I appreciate y'all having me here. Definitely an interesting project that I want to take use of. So we have a project right now that it's a social token project, and it's a DApp, and we do plan on having a utility token. But I am interested in using your platform to basically raise money. Like, let's say, for example, put out 100,000 shares of equity and raise money with that on your platform. How do they coexist between if you have a utility token versus a security token? Is it a ERC20? Is it a 1400? Is it a 721? I know you had mentioned this as it's an NFT. What's the token standard, and how do you envision that mixing with somebody that has a utility token as well?
Yeah, good question. Token stand, so we're currently integrated with Ethereum and Polygon. We are speaking with other protocols, but that's where all the STOs and the NFTs are right now. So that's the challenge on trying to use other protocols. There's not enough assets out there, but we're agnostic to those concepts. It's up to the issuers. Really, most people so far, the STOs issued so far that we've seen at ERC20. We are seeing more things coming down the pipeline, and again, we try to be able to work with all those standards. Related to the utility question, that's a great question. The utility tokens, in essence, if they really are utility tokens, are actually what a lot of the NFTs are promoting themselves as for now, right? You hold one of these NFTs and it gets you XYZ utility on the platform or future value. It's now becoming a bit of it's kind of converging together now. Security tokens are an asset-backed token that is an asset, and there's a financial gain, reward, promise, etc. wrapped around that, and clearly it's security. What we're now starting to see is the convergence of these, and I think where it's going to move towards, and it's something that we've just done at Investor X, was we just to spark, to get people's minds thinking and to show people where we think this is all going. We tokenized, we bought a Bored Ape, we tokenized it, we put it into a company structure, we tokenized 49% of it, and you can buy one of them for $1. It's worth a lot more than that, but a share just for all the new people that sign up on the Investor X platform. And if you hold one of those shares, then you become a premier investor on the platform. You get first access to deals, you get lower trading fees, you get XYZ. So it's basically taking the Web3 value proposition, a lot of the value proposition, but marrying it to real investments and the security token space as well. So you've got two separate, I think over time, you'll see a lot of people that have the utility token on the NFT on one side, and then you have the security token, and there's a whole, that's just beginning, how that unfolds and how they're going to tie together, and what do you get if you own which one or if you own both. But yeah, that's a whole different discussion we could talk about for a long time another day.
Yeah, appreciate that, because everybody's in the same boat of progressive decentralization. Everybody has a Delaware C Corp, and everybody wants to launch a token that, the Delaware C Corp, basically you take the power from the Delaware C Corp to the offshore entities that have that token as a DAO. So I would definitely love to talk with a team or somebody regarding what it will look like for us.
Yeah,
scenario.
And I came across a great platform last week called Syndicate.io, I think. Syndicate Protocol. Go and have a look at that. Certainly all about what you're talking about. Very cool. We're looking to speak to those guys soon.
Sweet. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left here. So I see Carvini, you have your hand up. Do you have a question for Julian?
Yes, thanks. Julian, as Web3 founders look to raise capital and go back and forth between the decentralized finance and traditional finance, do you see any emerging norms for how security tokens will fit in a capital table in a traditional finance world that's looking for preferred shares and options and common shares?
Good question. Yes, I do. And I think that the best way to think about it is kind of like public stocks, subsets of shares, whatever they are, preferred or not, or common, tokenized, that can trade easily by anyone, and probably shouldn't have, by the nature of what we're talking about, probably shouldn't have, or don't need to have, I should say, voting rights and all these other rights that start to complicate things. So actually, it's a lot easier to think about tokenizing a brand new company and starting to think about how to do that, because you start with a clean slate. If you try to think about tokenizing a Series F company, it's a lot of brain damage, because A, B, C, D, E investors, all different terms, and often side letters and special this and special that, and it becomes almost impossible, and that's why they haven't seen too many. But then a subset, maybe it was pre-IPO stock, or actually in our instance, we're tokenizing our ESOPs. And what we've decided is that typically the ESOP is a binary event for the team, i.e. you get nothing or you get something, and typically preferred equity investors don't want anyone having any liquidity before them. Because of what we do and who we are and what we're about, we're doing it anyway, and we're tokenizing the ESOPs for the team, and we're going to allow them to trade between themselves, and then maybe open that up to outside investors. this is kind of a first one. I mean, we're the founders and we're able to do this, but we think it's much more valuable for the team if they could actually create some liquidity for their ESOPs. And the whole point of the ESOPs was meant to be giving value, right? So it'll depend on what company, what asset, who's running it, how developed it is, and how they see an ability, as you said, to tokenize a portion of assets or a type of asset and plug that in. But I think overall the answer is yes, it's all possible. Just like when you're raising a debt round or raising another type of equity or debt for a company, there's no reason why you couldn't come up with a security token component for that, and then it'd be determined by you how that works. I mean, it's totally up to the founders and the fund managers what they want to do. Is there tradability? Is there not tradability? Is it only tradable to people they approve? Is there a lockup? Is there no lockup? All these features of the investment have got nothing to do initially with tokens. It's about what the company wants to do, and then it's about how would it work if you brought it into a token format. So yeah, lots to unpack, and there's no single answer to that, but hopefully that hopefully that was a bit valuable.
Yeah, very, very helpful. Thank you, Julian and Wolf Financial, for tonight's talk.
No problem.
Our pleasure. Okay. All right. So we're coming up with about 3 minutes left here. So I just want to hit our planned speakers for final comments. Abbas, Ashley, I'll have you go first, and we'll cap off with Julian. Abbas, anything else you'd like to say on this one? I appreciate you joining for multiple spaces tonight.
Oh man, like I told you, you are one of the people on the space who's actually, adding a lot of value with their spaces. Definitely the DeFi and the concept of the STO is something we in the community that we needed. Like we need more input into it, and probably more of the spaces about this is going to be more helpful in terms of education and opening the eyes at the same time on this part of the technology that has been within the blockchain. It's kind of like interesting to hear Julian's answers and input on this. Thank you, Julian, for being with us today and giving all these inputs.
No problem.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, Gabe.
My pleasure. All right, Ashley, anything else from yourself? And appreciate you as well joining us for multiple spaces.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't know. I feel like I don't know as much as a lot of the people in the space about stuff like this. So it's really been cool to absorb this information and know this is here. I feel like we need more things like this. It's just really interesting and fascinating. So thanks for sharing, and can't wait till the next one.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, we're definitely going to have more. I'll actually just throw this out there real quick before I throw it to Julian for any closing comments on this. We are going to have more spaces. So for anyone that kind of just caught this space, or maybe you caught this space and the one before it, once more, make sure that you're checking out my awesome speakers that are up here, Abbas, Ashley, the IXSwap team. We had Julian came up as well as the IXSwap main account. This is a really interesting and development platform, which is on that emerging tech side. And these are the type of companies which I love to highlight in these spaces, to chat with. I've been looking into this company for, I think, 3 to 4 weeks now. And it's great to get them into these spaces. Again, for anybody that's going to use it, we recommend you go ahead and do your own due diligence as well. But hopefully this was a great opportunity. This was just a lot of Q&A. I do want to also state that none of these questions were given to Julian ahead of time. We like to bring people up and just see who's real, right? Who's got it? You can't really hide on spaces. When people ask the questions, you're live, there's hundreds of people and you got to answer. And so those are companies that are willing to do that. I always have a respect for and appreciate them coming up. And shout out IX for supporting the space. So go ahead and check them out. You can click onto their profile picture. You can click through Julian's bio. Tomorrow, we're also going to have more spaces coming your way. So I will be hosting a space that's going to be at 2:30 p.m. EST. And that's actually going to be a live trading space. That's going to be a stock space with the women of Wall Street. So it is going to be 6 women traders and investors who are going to be joining us. It is an all-female panel. We will be trading for an hour, hour and a half, pretty much through the close. And then after that, we are going to have one more space. It's our FinTwit Friday space, and we wrap up the week. Next week, I'll be back on with a full slate. I typically do 20 to 30 spaces a week, about 40 hours worth. So you can catch everything investing from stocks, crypto, options, NFTs, real estate, venture capital, and more on these Wolf Spaces. So appreciate everyone who tunes in. And Julian, I'll give it to you for closing remarks.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I really appreciate those comments. And the questions today were great. This is definitely, the best, group that we've joined to help, educate and promote. So we really appreciate everyone's time, and we're happy to jump back on another day, and we'll share all this with our community as well. And if there's anyone who's got any questions or comments, you can reach out to me and the team. And yeah, please join up to the platform and the channels to help us grow this out. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay. Have a great evening, everybody. I'm
you.
actually West Coast right now, so it's about time to head out. So if you're heading out, head out, do your thing. But yeah, appreciate everyone who tuned in. See you all on Spaces in the morning, and have a great rest of your Thursday night.
Cheers.
Take care.